let's talk about severe weather here for tonight. So we have that moderate risk for severe weather across the eastern half of the area outside of Jack County, and then an enhanced risk for pretty much the eastern 2/3 of the area. That slight risk for the rest for the most part, and then the marginal risk for the far western counties. We're going to get into all of it. Now, I know y'all are going to ask a lot of questions here. I'm going to try to answer as many of those here towards the end of the live, but hopefully me just going through this will answer most of your questions as we go through it. Main concerns today. Going to be large to very large hail. I think we're going to see some pretty scattered amounts of ping pong to baseball sized hail as storms start to form here, and we're already watching some storms that are just to our southwest. I'll show you on radar in a second, but there could be some pockets where we see some hail up to the size of softballs. I mean, this is a very large hail scenario storm wise today. Now the tornado risk is towards the low end. I'm going to show you the tornado graphic here in a second too, but it's not completely ruled out. And if a tornado gets going, we could see it become, a stronger tornado, not just an EF0 or EF1, possibly up to an EF2. I think that's possible if we get a tornado. Now, it's not a high tornado risk today, and as I always tell everyone when we talk about tornadoes, even on a high risk of tornado, high risk tornado day, it's still more likely that you will not get hit by a tornado than you do. It's just simple mathematics. Most people will not see a tornado today, which is obviously the good news, and hopefully no one does. That's always the hope. But the large hail is going to be pretty prevalent and pretty widespread across Texoma, especially as you start to work in the enhanced and moderate risk areas there in the orange and red. Now, some of the yellow areas and the slight risk will probably also see some of that hail too. Let me make sure. Oh, Kyle's texting me. I'll text him back in a second. But, okay, let's show you the tornado graphic. And then we'll go to radar and futurecast as this is going slow. There we go. So, in the brown area, that's going to be the low chance for tornadoes. Tornado risk does get higher further off to the northeast. You see there in portions of Stevens County and Jefferson County are in that medium risk area. And really, the best chance for tornadoes today is across south central and southeastern Oklahoma. That's going to be where the tornado chances are by far higher. In the brown area, it's still a chance, low. In the green areas is a very low area. But with some supercells coming in, I still expect, unfortunately, I expect us to have probably a couple of tornado warnings in Texoma today. It's just one of those days where it adds up. Does it mean that those tornado warnings will produce tornadoes? No, it does not necessarily mean that. But I think the rotation of these thunderstorms is going to be strong enough that we will probably get some tornado warnings get issued here as we get into this evening. So here's our look of the radar. Now as we look down to the southwest, there's already one severe thunderstorm, and you're also seeing another little storm starting to go up there into southwestern Knox County. And so we have the one severe storm that's a little bit northwest of Abilene. That's going to be approaching us, and as it starts to approach us here from the southwest, it's likely going to strengthen quite a bit too as it moves into our portion of the region. The environment over us in Texoma is by far better than most the area down to the southwest where the storm is forming. And the thing that we really saw kick up today, because I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, hey, why did the risk go up so much today? It seemed like it was all going to be east of here. Well, the dry line continued to set up further off to the west. And with the dry line setting off to the west, it led to storms initiating further west. And now as they roll in, they're going to have more time to strengthen as they approach our portion of the region here in Texoma. And also, the forecast models did not handle the surface conditions well. It's a little bit windier than the models had. The moisture is a little bit higher too at the surface. And all those things added up to a better severe weather environment as we went into this evening. So as we'd like to say, models are useful, but models are models. They're not, always accurate, which is why, I woke up this morning, I was like, yeah, this is going to be worse than it looked yesterday. Because I could just tell by looking at the observations, I'm like, yeah, this is going to be significantly worse than we previously thought, which unfortunately is the case. And so we're hoping to not get as much of the hail, but really hail continues to be the main threat. Now these storms are going to start rolling in here to our southwestern counties. And I know a lot of people are asking questions. I'll try to get into all the questions too here towards the end. I can't do this forever today because obviously I'm going to have to start going to TV coverage and as the storms start rolling in. I just wanted to do this real quick before the storms actually made it into Texoma. But that's the area that we're watching right now and probably going to see some more development. Now for the timing on this. Here's Futurecast. There's the storms to the southwest. They look a little bit more menacing, I will say, on this forecast model than they look right now. But we're still expecting them to strengthen by about 4 o'clock here. 4:15, 4:30 in that time frame, rolling into our southwestern counties. That's what we're expecting here in and around Baylor County, Knox County, portions of Throckmorton County. That's where we're expecting these storms to really initiate here. And then as we get closer to the 5 o'clock hour, 5 to 6 time frame, moving more into the central portions of Texoma, Wichita County, Archer County, Conning County, and portions of Young County. That's when we start to see it really move more into more of Texoma, and also this is when the time frame that it's really going to start seeing that strengthening as it starts to get into the much better environment, the high moisture, the strong wind shear, and also plenty of time for the storm to develop as it approaches. This is really the beginning of the time frame where we think the storms could be at their worst, starting around 5 o'clock and going into about the 7 o'clock time frame for us in Texoma. By 6 o'clock, it's starting to push into the eastern portions of Texoma, getting into Clay County, Monte County, Jefferson, Stevens County, Jack County, and then we're also going to watch for some additional development to the south. To the south there, you still see a storm there over Jack County at 6:45, and then by 7:15 we see most of the area move out. Some forecast models want to pop up another storm after 7 o'clock, closer to 8. I don't see that really panning out as a strong, severe storm at that point, because I think the environment's already seen a lot of storm activity by then, and we probably depleted some of the instability that's in the air, but that's going to be another area that we have to watch. Now we get closer to 8:30, all the storms have moved out. You see some areas up there by Jackson County with some storms. I don't anticipate that activity to be severe. I think most of our activity is going to be 4 to 7 o'clock here in Texoma, with the strongest end of that probably happening in that 5 to 7 o'clock time frame. And then likely those storms continue to strengthen as they push off to the east, and that's where they have the higher tornado risk, unlike us here in Texoma, where we still have the low risk. It's certainly possible to get a tornado or two in Texoma, but the risk is higher further off to the east, which is good for us, although our hail risk is still definitely on the very high side as we go throughout this evening.